Hello, everyone, and welcome to We Serve Canada's Mental Health in Youth series, Elevate Yourself, supported by TD Bank. My name is Anu Srivastava, and I'm the Executive Director of We Serve Canada, and I'll be your host today. Last week, we wrapped up our first segment of this series, Diet and Nutrition. We are so thankful to have TD support for this project and to host a platform to discuss the valuable topics of mental health in youth. Now, I'm thrilled to introduce our next segment, Fitness and Movement, which will feature two informative and engaging workshops featuring our very eminent special guest speakers. So, without further ado, let's begin with our first workshop in the Fitness and Movement segment, focused on real-life mental benefits of exercise and fitness. I'd like to introduce our guest speakers today. First, I have with us Vanessa Bielecki. You may recognize her as Miss Canada Tourism 2021. She is a cyclist, a former French teacher, and a holistic wellness coach who advocates for Alzheimer's and caregivers. Next, we have Zachary Ventura, a cyclist, a life coach, and a personal trainer who wishes to help others implement positive changes in their lives. We Serve Canada is truly honored to partner with these two amazing individuals. And welcome to the workshop, both of you. So I'm going to start with Vanessa. I think it'll be best if you can maybe give a brief self-introduction of yourself, and so we can take it from there then.
Hi there, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for having me here. I'm really excited to be here. I just want to start by saying I'm so happy to support VServe Canada's Mental Health in Youth series, and that's really who I am. I'm Vanessa, and I work in corporate training, and the reason why I found cycling was really through personal injury. Personal injury was 2 years ago when I was rollerblading when I lived in Toronto on Lakeshore. I cracked my knee, and so I was bedridden for a few weeks. I never thought I would be able to jump back into fitness so quickly. And one thing I found was using cycling as therapy. So it first began with therapy, and then it turned into fun, and then it turned into a way of living and a lifestyle. So not only physical health, but also mental health as well. Just a little bit of a backstory to that. It's a happy story in the end, which is why I didn't want to lead with that story right away. But a few years ago, my mom was diagnosed with a brain tumor and given 2 months to live. And so that changed my world. And instead, we chose to look on the positives. She had a surgery. It was 10 hours long. And now she's in my care and she's well on her way to recovery. So it's a happy story in the end. But that really emphasized the importance of not only mental health, but physical health as well. Seeing my mom go through such a hard time and just be really mentally strong through it. And not only that, using cycling as a tool to really come back to myself and really take time for myself. You'll find that cycling is a great way to either spend time by yourself or with others. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really happy to share more about me with you as we move forward, especially in the terms of fitness and movement. So a little bit of history about myself and where I come from. So I went to school to be a teacher, and while I was in school, I was the fitness coordinator, and I fell in love with cycling. I was a cycling instructor. Then moving forward, I Miss Canada Tourism 2021, as mentioned earlier. And so that was really part of the mental health portion of it. So although really being a well-rounded individual, so, not being intelligent, being emotionally strong, and being emotionally intelligent as well. And so this is where I really find the marriage of physical and mental health come into play. Thank you.
Vanessa, that is an amazing, amazing story. We are so proud of you, of what you've done and what you've achieved, and also everything that you took upon yourself to take care of your mother in difficult times, and how your cycling and the physical fitness aspects of it let you walk you through these difficult times. So that is really fantastic. Now I'm going to move on to Zachary. If you can just say a little bit about yourself, we'd love to hear that.
Yes, absolutely. And that was very, eloquently put as well, Vanessa. I love your story. But thank you guys for having me here today. I'm honored. I love to take any opportunity that I'm given to, speak in front of people, to share knowledge, and just to try to impact people's lives, especially with youth. We're in a crazy time right now, but we're in an amazing time where we have so much access to like beautiful information. So I want to be there to give it to people. And, myself, I'm 31 years old. I live in Toronto sometimes, and I live in Parry Sound up north a lot of the time as well. And that's really the place for me where I'm sort of most happy. I get to be outside in nature. It could be a little bit lonely and isolating sometimes, but it has many benefits that I'm just super grateful for. I'm an avid cyclist. I cycle almost every single day. If I'm not cycling, I'm doing other things that sort of bring me to the outdoors. I love kayaking in the summertime. If it's winter, to be honest, like winter this year has been so sensational. I have sort of the last 2 years, really, I have a newfound love for winter. And, a lot of people, you hear it all the time. They're like, oh, I hate winter. I want these 4 or 5 months to be over with. But let's be real, guys. We live in Canada. That's 4 or 5 months every year of our lives that we got to make the most of. So those are things that I like to do. I also, I love martial arts and just working out. I think movement is really, really key. I also, essentially work as a freelance article writer and reviewer for bike equipment as well as different outdoor gear. And this allows me to sort of, work on my own time, open my time up so I can use that effectively, because that's really the most precious commodity. So that's what I try to do all the time. And I'm also a lifestyle coach. I'm working with a few individuals right now. This is something I've sort of implemented this year. And the biggest reason that I want to do this is, sure, we can do things for ourselves to improve all the time. It's fantastic, We always want to improve. But when we're able to help others to sort of improve themselves as well, that's the most rewarding thing. I always sort of say that, essentially the greatest thing, gift that you can give to someone is inspiration. And that's kind of what I'm making my, I guess, life mission or whatever. So I'm super happy to be here. And thanks so much again, guys.
Thank you so much, Zachary. Oh my God, you are a wealth of different things that you're doing. And I think so much that we can learn from you. I, for one, am not so much of a winter sport kind of a person. So maybe you and I have to get offline to force me into going out in the snow or something.
Let's do it.
Vanessa, before we start, actually, I wanted to ask you, what made you move to BC? Because I know that 6 months ago you moved to British Columbia. I love that place. It's beautiful. One of my favorite destinations all the time. But what made you decide to go there?
Yeah, it's a really great question. What mostly moved the decision was the outdoors. So when kind of the world shut down and I started making my way more and more outdoors, having dogs, being on bikes, the thought was always there. But when kind of the world shut down, it seemed like the perfect time to go somewhere where there's a lot of green space, fresh air, and some of the best bike paths in the entire world. So I would like to say it was the outdoors, but it was a lot about the bike paths. And Toronto is a little bit unsafe at times if you're downtown on a bike, which we will talk about a little bit about later. And I find that the bike paths here are very well marked and has some of the best bike paths around. So thank you for asking. And
that's definitely there. But I also want to ask you one other question. Like, what got you into the Miss Canada tourism? Like, how did all that happen?
Oh, that's a funny story, because it was just a few summers ago, and I was watching YouTube videos with my cousins who were actually in high school, and I was just looking at the questions, and I said, we could answer these questions. And they said, so do it. And so I just looked at them and I said, you know what? I'm going to show you that you can do anything you set your mind to. And so the next week I went and I applied, and it was like a couple hour long interview. Then you have to write a couple of essays and another interview. And then here we are. So it was all because of my cousins and I would like to say a bet, but I really just wanted to show them that if you want to do something, you should just go for it.
Well, congratulations on that. Anyways, let me start with the first question. How can exercise or fitness impact youth's mental health? And what are the benefits to being physically healthy? So maybe I can start with Zachary.
All right, absolutely. Well, I think it's, at its base root, it's very simple. All right, when we're doing physical activity and exercise, the basic thing that's happening in our physiology is we're producing, chemicals in our brain and in our body. We're releasing serotonin and endorphins. All right, and these are feel-good chemicals. So when we're doing these things, we're creating this motion. We're not stagnant. And at the end of the day, exercise and stuff like this is fun. So it's going to really allow you to, just sort of not be in that stagnant scenario as I'm mentioning. It's going to put you in a beautiful state. And especially if you can share that movement and share the exercise with other people, then you have extra energy going everywhere as well. So that's really that's one of the key base benefits, I think, for all of that.
You want to add anything to that, Vanessa?
Yeah, absolutely. Just one side note, it's just a fun activity you can do with your friends. It's social distant and you can go places with it as well. So, being isolated at home, I know we can see our friends on video games, on FaceTime, but there's nothing really like seeing our friends in a physical form. So I think that really helps with the building community and staying in touch with our friends during the breaks, especially in summer when it's the best time to be riding a bike.
No, because I've got 2 kids, so they are all the time on their devices. So I don't know what is with this new generation that they are so glued to that. So I'm so happy to see that you youngsters are promoting and you are actually encouraging the youth to come out and be more physically active. So definitely there are the benefits to that for sure. How often sorry, Zachary.
Yeah, if I could just touch a little bit on the device as well. The thing is, the devices, they are addictive, right? And they essentially are like hypnotic. When you're staring at it, it's extremely difficult to pull away, right? So we have to have sort of cues that allow us to pull away, and we have to have things that are fun enough so we can sort of shift our focus, all right? And then, as we're mentioning, when we're doing all these physical activities, if you feel good, it's going to transition to your brain. You're going to be mentally stable as well.
No, definitely. Like you're saying that try and do a fun activity and maybe with your friends. So then that way you can pull away from the devices for sure.
Gotta break it.
Yeah. So how often should people be exercising to be healthy? Maybe Vanessa?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the guidelines are 3 times per week, and I believe it's half an hour intervals each time. But then again, there's always a level of what are your goals? So we know the summer's coming up, or people might be going on holidays, or people might just have goals of maybe starting to move their bodies more. So we just spoke about our devices, being on our phones, being really glued to these devices. So how do we even start breaking away from that? So one major thing we talk about is just every hour standing up and doing something. It doesn't have to be riding a bike necessarily, but it could be going for a walk, getting those joints moving. And again, when you're doing that, you're looking away at something other than a screen. So how often? Officially, it's 3 times, but we definitely think it's every hour you should be moving your body. You should, always be getting those joints moving and the blood flowing.
It's funny you say that, Vanessa, because my kids, they got me an Apple Watch for Christmas this time. And actually, it works. It honestly, it does work because once I'm working, I'm so engrossed in it that I forget that I need to stand. But this one, it reminds me every hour, okay, time to stand. And I'm thinking, and I do follow that. So I have a good one for instructions. If somebody tells me to stand, I do stand. So I think it's a good thing to have that.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are some exercises that youth can do at home, maybe indoors at this point, because not everyone is like Zachary.
Yeah.
Zachary, should I ask you, or you're going to say I'm going out?
I'm going to run out right after this whole interview. No, I'm having a great time, so I'll stick around. But there's so many things, obviously, that we can do. The thing is, you have to do something that you're passionate about, because our brains very often, there's a bit of a disconnect where they tell us, or there's like limbic friction. So our brain is telling us we need to do this, but our emotional state is like, no, it's tough. I don't want to do it. So do something you're passionate about. It could be, for me, it could be martial arts. I'll go and I'll hit the punching bag, or I'll, spin my bow staff around or something like this. These are some great things for being indoors. Sometimes that motivation can be hard to come by as well. So you want to maybe follow along with a YouTube video. It's almost like you're working with a professional trainer or with a class or something like this. For cyclists like us, the indoor trainer is fantastic. And this is something that's low impact. You can do, interval sessions where you're downloading specific courses and trying to really get some amazing fitness gains. Or you can just throw on a movie and just kind of spin away and enjoy yourself. There's yoga. There's all these beautiful things that you could do inside. And then outside, I think it's even easier. You could just go for a walk, go for a hike. Absolutely. If it's cycling, you're going to get out there. You're going to take in all the beautiful energy and the magnetism of the earth. You're going to see amazing things. The key is just to move. You could dance. There's literally an endless list of things that you can do. As long as you're moving, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's what I was. Oh, sorry. Can I add on to that as well?
Yeah.
For sure.
That's just proof that there are so many options of things you can do. So many times we hear, but I don't have any equipment, or, I can't afford a membership, or I can't do that. And so let's focus on the things we can do. So out of that list, there's probably at least 3 things that we are able to do, from following along to a YouTube video that just uses body weight. So you don't even need any equipment. To just going outside for a walk. So no excuses that you don't have any equipment.
Right.
If you're watching this, you can watch a YouTube video.
So one thing, Vanessa, you have your mom at home. So is there anything specifically for seniors or somebody who's physically challenged to do at home that you can suggest?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So something that I've come to learn about is bed yoga. So, in the morning before just hopping out of bed, so just follow along to maybe a video or 2 in bed that just sort of gets your body moving slowly in the morning. And, I've done it a couple of times as well. And there's different levels to the intensity that you can do. So someone like me can do it, and someone like, my mom, who might have some mobility issues from doing that as well. And if you live in a house, or if you live in an apartment, you can go to the stairs. And so for my mom, it would be maybe going down 2 or 3 stairs, up 2 or 3 stairs. But then if that translates to if you're doing that with someone else, you can all go at your own pace if there are, if it's a staircase. So I'm not saying run up and down the stairs, but, just practice using those muscles as well. So just little things like that. And, since we don't have weights or anything, taking cans of soup, there's just little things that you can use on a daily basis. And
Good one.
and you wouldn't believe just how doing things around the house is therapy. Go shovel some snow, that can really help your getting a little bit of a workout, doing the dishes, little things like that can keep you up every hour and moving.
Okay, so both of you are cyclists. And so can you tell me how cycling or biking is really beneficial for, I know it's beneficial obviously for your physical health, but for your mental health, how does that help you overall? You want to start, Zachary?
Absolutely. So, I did previously mention as well that, when you're creating sort of these chemicals in your brain and stuff like this literally combats, either depressive thoughts or, just feeling bad. It's the feel-good chemicals. That's why they call this for a reason. And as you mentioned, the cycling makes fantastic, changes for your physical body. And everybody says all the time, when you look good or when you look good, you feel good. All right, and I don't mean try to, be a bodybuilder or anything, because a lot of the time that's actually a bit of a detriment. But when you're able to be functional, when your legs work, when your legs are strong, this is your base as well. So cycling, when you're strengthening your base, all right, this is going to allow the rest of your body to sort of function. Everything, interesting enough, not everything, but there's a lot of studies that show that actually your feet are really, really key for overall health, because everything stems upwards from your feet.
Yeah.
So you go right from your feet to your head. And besides, sort of these physical changes and stuff, as also mentioned, when you're outside and exploring, all right, you're getting sensory overload. You're essentially, maybe, I'm up north, I could be cycling and I see a moose, or all of a sudden there's a waterfall. It's just insane the amount of things that you can be sort of exposed to. And cycling as well is sort of like meditative, so when you're able to sort of take your problems, put them in a drawer, and not worry about them until maybe you're done with the task at hand, that's really extremely powerful. Because after you've exerted yourself, released your chemicals, maybe had some adrenaline from something really cool, you sort of look at your problems from a different frame of mind.
Yep.
Yeah, and it could just all be handled well. And hey, sometimes you might realize those problems are not as big as you thought that they were. Yeah,
Excellent. Excellent. You want to add anything to that, Vanessa?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Zach, those were all great points. I agree with them 100%. Just one thing I want to add, that it's something that you can do when you want to be alone. So you can, put one headphone in just for safety so you can hear everything around you. Or you can go with groups of people. So if you want to be with people. So like I mentioned earlier, cycling is something that's good. It builds community. And so, yeah, I just wanted to add that right over there, that you can do when you want to be alone or when you want to be with people.
Oh, yeah. So it can be a solo sport or it can be a group. Yeah, for sure. Now, obviously, not everyone is biking or cycling. So somebody who is going to start for the first time, they're kind of nervous about it. And so is it, I'm talking more from, I guess, like, age 10 onwards or something. Is it dangerous biking? Is it, or it can be like, or would you, what age group would you recommend to actually?
Yeah, that's oh, sorry, Zach.
No, go ahead, Vanessa. It's all you. I love the energy.
Thanks, Zach. I'll get started here. Yeah, so again, if you look at biking or you see videos of people biking, right off the bat, you might see someone riding on the road and you might automatically think that it's dangerous. And Zach pulled a little joke on me earlier saying, sorry, Zach, I'll tell him that he only thinks that people who are over 18 should be biking when they are responsible. But really the joke is that anyone can be biking. There are these really neat bikes that they make for toddlers that are called push bikes. There's not even any pedals on them. You can just sit on it and push yourself. So that's one thing you can use right before you can even walk, for example. Then you can get a tricycle, and then as your balance gets better and your coordination, you can remove the training wheels, and then you can start biking. Now, one thing that we also spoke about a bit was like a tricycle for adults, and we've seen them out on the road and they're very cool. So it's not like something that looks like it's for children, but if it's something that maybe it's like a mobility thing, or you're worried about your balance, or you're just worried about riding around people and having to turn too fast, those are really cool options, and they're called trikes. So definitely we would recommend it to anyone. And in terms of it being dangerous, make sure you're wearing a helmet, and the more aspects of the cycling you can control, the safer it will be. So for example, if you're riding in an enclosed bike lane, that'll be much more safer than if you're riding on the road with people around. But if it's your first time on a bike, I would even suggest on your driveway, in a parking lot, just somewhere that you have control over everything, no poles or anything in the way. So you just want to make it as safe as possible. And if it's your first time on a bike, really having two people on each side of you if you don't have any training wheels, so they can help you with your balance as you begin to learn. And then if you're up north like Zachary, then you'll know there's also downhill biking, and maybe he can tell us a little bit more about that, which is far more, I don't know if it's far more, biking is all pretty dangerous, but there are a lot more risks to when you're going on a downhill mountain bike.
Yeah, it really just sort of depends a lot of the time what sort of risks you want to take, anything could be dangerous. As Vanessa mentioned earlier when we were chatting, driving can be dangerous. All right, walking down the road, putting in, having big headphones on the sidewalk can even be dangerous. It really depends. You have to sort of be spatially aware, and you have to mitigate your risk. It might not make sense to blast through a red light or something like this. Well, it's not 100%. It makes much more sense to sort of be aware if there's cars around. And then, as you mentioned, there's different styles of riding. So, if you want to be a bit of a daredevil, then of course you can essentially go into downhill mountain biking. But even with downhill mountain biking, mitigate the risk. Maybe don't hit the jump as quickly. Maybe do a smaller jump. Maybe get into road cycling where you're not putting yourself in these situations. The key is to just be aware and really, know your risk tolerance essentially. And everything can be great and everything can be dangerous. It really depends on how you're going to approach the situation.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to be conscious of your environment, and you have to just watch where you're going and what you're doing for sure.
Yeah.
I noticed actually, Zachary, in your Instagram, like a lot of your cycling is in the snow. Now that I actually had never heard of it before. Now,
Yeah.
do you have like special tires, or like what is it like, or can you actually bike in there in snow?
Yeah. So in the big and deep snow, we use a specialized bike called a fat bike. So it has tires that are about 2 or 3 times thicker than normal like mountain bike tires, and you run it at a much lower pressure. So it allows you to actually grip onto the snow. And I have even little metal spikes on my tires, which give me further grip. So I just really love it because I personally think, like, I love all the seasons, but I personally think that winter is like the most beautiful, with the scenery changes and just having everything snow covered. It's totally different. So me having the ability to do these different styles of biking and get out in different ways, it's just amazing for me. I love it so much.
No, we are amazed too to see all these different things that you can do.
Yeah.
I think I'll start with you, Vanessa. What is a healthy bike routine that you would recommend maybe to beginners? And I'm talking, let's say, adult beginners.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we go back to just how much exercise we should get in a week, it would be following the 3 times per week rule. But again, it's like, what are your goals? So are you trying to bike a certain amount of kilometers? Are you trying to join a race? Or again, if you're just an adult beginner beginning to ride, then we definitely suggest getting on that bike a few times a week. But not only that, kind of thinking about the bike in the back of your mind when you're doing other things off of the bike. So whether it be stretching, maybe yoga, and performing other workouts that can support those cycling muscles. So doing some leg workouts and even really upper body workouts as well. So making sure we're having a balanced workout. Speaking of balance, you also want to support your body by having a balanced diet. So we were talking earlier about if you have such a great workout, such a great bike ride, you come home and you don't necessarily eat the right things. You might just put something in the microwave and eat it quickly, but really thinking about eating our greens as well as eating our proteins. So having a nice balanced diet.
Wonderful. That's so true. I'm going to ask this last question, Zachary. Maybe you can answer that. How has biking impacted your mental health or physical health, for that matter? Both.
Yeah. I mean, it has a sensational effect on both, obviously, as we sort of mentioned. But for me, so I've sort of cycled my whole life. But about, 7 or 8 years ago, I went through maybe a little less time than that. I don't know. I'm bad with timelines. But I went through a difficult scenario where I was playing soccer and I broke my leg and my knee like extremely badly. All right, so I wasn't able to function. I had to get major surgery done. And my recovery process was pretty much almost 2 years before I can really like jog again or cycle with any sort of gusto, So I had to really dive back into the sport. And I started in a different way because when I was younger, I was all about mountain biking. So now that after my injury, I moved a little bit more into the road cycling and the fixed gear riding and stuff like this, which is a little bit less impact, a little bit less dangerous, and sort of builds up your cardio and your overall fitness a lot. So by becoming, super passionate and deciding that I was going to use this as my therapy, I've actually, since that injury, progressed even further. All right. So I really think that injury was like a big inflection point in my life. And maybe it was the injury, but maybe it was the decision at the end to make things better. So since I, found that reinvigorated passion, not only have I got physically more fit, but I've changed every aspect of my life. I'm doing all these different things like fasting. I'm doing cold therapy in order to help with recovery. But at the end of the day, it's all sort of tying back to cycling. All right. My physical and my mental, when they work in conjunction together, that's when I really feel amazing. And that's what I want for other people as well. And that's why I want to inspire other people with cycling. I think especially now during the pandemic, we've seen 5 to 10 times more people on bikes. And I think this is like some sort of amazing social consciousness that's sort of happening. People are finding these things and we're all sort of growing together. And that's the key. I love riding. I'm going to keep doing it. Yeah.
No, that's an inspirational story. And that's really what we want to tell all our viewers and audience, because, when they personally hear that somebody who's gone through something and how they have recovered and what the benefits of having physical movement and fitness have done to them, that's what we really want to inspire other people to do as well. Vanessa, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one thing to add even on to what Zach said was that there's so many different types of styles and different types of bikes that, you might just see someone commuting on their way to work and you might think like biking isn't for me, but there are a bunch of different types of bikes for different needs and styles and the level of your riding ability. So don't be discouraged. One more thing I want to add is a lot of times people say their bike doesn't feel too good. Don't be discouraged as well. We'll talk about that in our next workshop to how you can be, more comfortable when you're riding your bike if it doesn't feel so good. But for me specifically, biking, I'm seeing it come in action once again for my mental health. I've just moved to Vancouver here. I don't really have any friends. I had one friend moving here, 2 friends, and just last weekend out on the bike, I already am meeting people. So this winter was a long, cold winter. We weren't out on the bikes. And I just knew as soon as we got on the bikes, I would be able to build a community right away and sort of find my place in Vancouver. So again, it always comes back to my mental health and having fun. So biking is one of the best ways to have fun in an environment with other people or by yourself.
That is so true. And thank you so much. That was excellent, the way you wrapped it up and how it has helped your mental health. So this is the end of today's workshop. In case we have not answered your questions, then please do send us a message on Instagram at We Serve Canada. But thank you to all of those who attended today. And we hope that you learned something new and you're feeling inspired by our lovely guest speakers here. And we would like to thank both of you, Vanessa and Zachary, for partnering with the We Serve Canada Mental Health Series, and which is supported by TD Bank. We really do look forward to speaking with you again next week on February the 2nd. And the topic of our workshop is going to be Fitness and Movement Workshop, a beginner's guide to cycling. So stay tuned and remember to follow us on social media and participate in our contest to win a $100 gift certificate. And we hope to see you all next week for our next workshop. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and elevate yourself. Bye.